Hi, good morning. Welcome to my Allowed Choices Attributes assignment. I titled this assignment Making Learning an Adventure. I've got kind of a theme going on here with this. Right now I'm in Yellowstone National Park. It's absolutely stunning. It's beautiful. We're spending 4 full days. Uh, Yesterday we saw some cool stuff. We saw a wolf running amok in a bunch of buffalo. We saw a bear and a coyote playing. We've just seen all kinds of things. The scenery is beautiful. I love being outdoors. I love adventure. Um, the hardest thing about going on a trip and camping is what do you pack and what tools do you pack? Um, I was I was thinking about it. So I'm a love photography. I shoot a lot of photography, and as I was packing my bags, I was like, what camera gear do I need to bring? So I have 3 camera bodies, a whole bunch of different lenses. I also shoot film, so I have an old like 1970s Yashica camera, and anyways, too much stuff. And so we would pull up to a spot to look at it, and I would try and figure out what gear do I bring. I would grab all the gear, a big backpack. I carry it out. It was just horrible. I didn't have. It was awful. So the next time I whittled it down, but then I'd show up and I'd be like, well, I needed a wide angle, and this is a zoom, or anyways, it's tough. I was thinking about that for students when we're giving them choices for different formats and things to use, that we can sometimes they can easily be overwhelmed. And so instead of giving students just choices like, hey, do whatever you want, the process of allowed choices is actually leading them in a way to build competency in it and know which ones are there, and to better serve their learning. So anyways, in this presentation, what we're going to talk about is student choice, modeling, rubric-based, and multiple exposures. First of all, focus on student choice. After students have gone through the H model, where students are learning different mediums that you've created, and I liked how it was shared where there'd be a chart on the wall. These are the ones that we're learning, and then you move them down to the second category, and these are the ones that we have already learned how to use, the different platforms. And so once you've done that, then those are free ones for students to choose as you begin to introduce some new replacement activities. And then, the idea is once it gets down to like phase 4, as it goes from phase 1 to 4, that they've moved to where they understand exactly what each platform does and how it can function and how it helps, and they can demonstrate their learning through that platform. Now, a big part of that going from phase 1 through 4 is the modeling process or aspect of that, which is modeling is where teachers guide and demonstrate how they would use a different medium, a different platform. So for example, in phase 1, it's very heavy on teacher modeling and explanation. So you're introducing a new platform, you give your daily assignment, this is what we're going to be doing, or your project, and you are telling them how to do it. It's very teacher directed. In this part of it, as they're going through there, the assignment might be low rigor because the platform is a high rigor platform. And as they're building competency in that platform, that goes off from there. Once they get to the second one, perhaps you've got a few platforms developed in their toolkit, and so they can you can give them a choice. Now, you're still directing them a little bit because they might not know exactly which platforms work best, or they're not there all the way. And so in this one, you're still modeling. So you're saying, hey, when you are doing this, or if you're using this platform, here's how I would use it. So for example, when we were doing distance learning, one of the assignments I gave our students was to build a tabernacle using Minecraft. And I gave them a few other options if they wanted to. I had one make it in Sims. The table of showbread was the table of grilled cheese. It was hilarious. One built it with Legos, but when I was focusing on the Minecraft, what I would do is I would model really closely. Because I got so many questions, I ended up having to do that. So I actually found people who had already made Minecraft tabernacles, shared those videos. I said, this is how I would do it. I had some students share how they do it. And so that became a way of really modeling that. Now, What I was initially doing was I was actually presented to them in phase 4. Here's a whole bunch of options that you can use for doing this. And I didn't give them much direction, but they weren't there yet. I should have started with showing everyone how to use Minecraft to go through that. It would have made most people's presentations a whole lot better on that. But either way, it was really effective. But that's a simple way to understand modeling. By the time they get to like phase 4, you're not doing much modeling. Phase 3, the students can actually model for other students. In phase 4, the students are actually, they could just pick whatever platform and they understand the reason why they have it. So like, for example, once you become an expert with photography, you can show up to any site, just take a quick glance of the scenery, and you know exactly what camera lens you need and how to be prepared for it. It's that same type of idea and concept. And then another aspect of it is that allowed choices are rubric based. So you're building independence in student learning really through this rubric. So in the beginning, the teacher selects the platforms. This is reviewing some of what I had just said, but the teacher is selecting this. It's really detailed out. And then by the time you get to the middle, you allow students to choose the platform and then model the choice. So perhaps one student's used Canva more than others. They're showing them how they would do it. And then at the end, once you've done enough of these different allowed choices, they've got a big toolkit. So the teacher just presents a lesson and what needs to be included. Really, the students do the rest. They know which one to pick. They know which one they like most. They know how they can demonstrate their learning the best in each platform. I was when I'm thinking about the choices and the reason this system is so good, I think about it from when I was youth pastor for so long. Now, we would take a trip, like a mission trip with students, and we'd stop at a McDonald's. And you could tell the students that had been used to making choices and knew what choices to make, and those who did not. The ones that didn't would stand there and they were super confused. They didn't know what to pick. They either made horrible choices or they refused to order their own food. And then those that were probably from big families and used to having to order their own food all the time, they just jump up and knew exactly what to do. It was amazing to me, that difference. Now, McDonald's is probably never a good choice, so I don't know. But in this, I think that kind of shows we can't just give them a bunch of choices. We actually need to guide them and develop them in that. And so I think it's a really good system for using it. And then another important part is to have multiple exposures. The idea with multiple exposures is, that these students aren't just using Canva in this person's class and Edpuzzle in this class and Kahoot in this class, but the idea that across our school or our departments that students are using these different platforms quite frequently, and that they're using multiple different ones. There's not just one platform that they're using. Why is this important? It's important because one of the big concepts of allowed choices is that the students are actually building the skill set that they're going to use for the jobs that they have in the future. I learned how to use a whole bunch of different platforms when I was a youth pastor because it was almost like running a small business. You kind of had to do everything. There wasn't one task that you had to be proficient at. You had to be at least moderately proficient at everything. And that's more of the type of explanation of what the job of the future looks like, is you need to be able to problem solve, think through how you can do things, learn how to do things, learn how to make a video, learn how to, use this app for a sign up. There's all kinds of things you have to learn how to do. And so by doing this, you're actually building those skill sets in there as well. And by using it, it gains a dependence mastery. Now, when we did distance learning, it actually became a perfect example because all the teachers were pulling together to figure out what are the best platforms to help students learn. So students were actually coming to my class and they had already used a certain program before. So that made it just really, really helpful. And the students learned to master it. So they were actually would have been moving up in the phases of that rubric. And to reflect on the questions, how does a teacher start to make an intentional shift to deeper levels of learning during allowed choices? I think by having students choose their platforms to demonstrate their knowledge, they're reaching higher levels on the Bloom's taxonomy: classify, categorize, summarize, couple others. The allowed choices moves away from a cookie cutter education, and it moves towards problem solving and innovation. And the process is pretty organic. So that's one of its real strengths. The thing that is the next question about how shifts are going to be for both students and teachers. I see one of the main shifts is that it puts in the hands of the students for how to demonstrate their knowledge, and it takes it to a higher order, but also teaches them the types of skills that they need for the jobs of tomorrow. Now, the catch is that for some students, they're going to really like this once they get in the process, and some are really going to struggle. Students have been accustomed to being told exactly which boxes to check off to get a good grade, what exactly the teacher wants, and to not budge from that to make sure that they get a good grade. I learned this probably by default. As a new teacher, I wasn't good at creating rubrics. So I would create a rubric, or I would just create an assignment and kind of give a verbal explanation for it. And I got a lot of questions to the point of where I got pushed by the students to create very detailed rubrics for exactly what I wanted, but the creativity got sucked out of the assignment. It actually made the assignment almost too easy. And I wasn't sure exactly what they learned besides the ability to perform tasks. So with this in mind, what this does is it changes. So it could be frustrating for some students, but as they actually build proficiency, I think they're going to learn to enjoy it because they're not stuck in a rut or having to just, I think it will help them understand why this education is important and be able to actually learn and demonstrate that. For a teacher, I think what it's going to change is that you're going to have to focus a lot more on platforms and not just content. And that's a little bit different. I mean, sometimes we barely have enough time to get through our content, so we reevaluate it. But again, what's the point of content if students don't remember it all? I like this allowed choices because they're doing deeper learning. They're going to remember these, and it's also then building a skill set that they're going to use further on in the future. So I think it's rethinking the purpose of education a little bit for the 21st century and putting a plan in place for how to do that. So those are my responses to those questions. Hope you enjoyed my presentation. Have a great day.